Welcome to week 2 of the meal prep solution. I'm so proud of you for being here today. If this is your second week in a row cooking, congratulations to you. You've got a great momentum going. If you had some time in between, still doing great. I'm super proud that you're here. This is a self-paced course. You are free to do it at your leisure. So congratulations. Let's go ahead and get started. As we go through everything before we start, I'm going to show you my mise en place. I hope that you have everything in its place before class today, that you have your recipes printed out. And by the way, each week as you're going through the course, don't forget there's crock pot meals. So those are separate recipes, separate from the meal prep packet. So if you want to do them, go ahead and print out the one that corresponds to the week that you're working on. Today we're doing crock pot creamy chicken and rice soup. And that will have on there dinner for week 2. So if you have a large family or you want to make extra meals, you will be able to easily do that in a few minutes just by following my crock pot recipes. So I have my crock pot here. It's super hot. It's been on high back there for quite a while, but I brought it up here so you can see. So we're just going to get everything into the crock pot, starting from the top. I'm doing this recipe. I'm doing half of the recipe. So if I say a measurement that doesn't jive with what you have, go ahead and look down at your recipe to make sure and double check. I'm doing half. If you're doing the full recipe, it'll be double what I'm saying. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, we need to add 2 tablespoons of, you can use organic grass-fed ghee or vegan butter. I like Miyoko's soy-free organic cultured vegan butter. It's made from coconut oil and cashews, or they have an oat milk version that's made from coconut oil and oats if you have a nut allergy, or the Kite Hill European style butter. It comes in a tub. That one is made from almonds though, and they don't have an alternative. So if you have a nut allergy, that one wouldn't work for you. If you have nut allergy though, go ahead and use organic grass-fed ghee. Ghee is clarified butter that's been cooked low and slow until the milk solids separate and they're removed, so that what you're left with is a high heat, full fat cooking oil that tastes like butter. So it's super good. I love it. It's low in lactose, low in casein. If you had a severe dairy allergy, you want to definitely test that. Keep your, allergy medication or EpiPen handy if you need that. Otherwise, but most people that even have dairy allergies can tolerate ghee because all of the milk solids have been removed. So that's pretty cool. So go ahead and add your pre-diced onion. I had to chop my own because I had a bunch of half-chopped onions in the fridge for my husband for making breakfast. He has a tendency to grab a fresh onion, chop it, put the half-used one in the fridge, and then forget about it. So I was like, I'm going to dice my own onion. You're going to do half a bag of baby carrots, a whole bag if you're doing the full recipe. Okay. And then if you're doing pre-chopped green beans or frozen green beans, actually scratch that. If you're doing frozen, let's wait. If you're doing pre-chopped green beans or like broccoli florets, go ahead and throw that in now, okay? So it can cook with everything else. But if you're gonna do frozen vegetables, I would wait to the end because those don't take long at all to cook. So let's go ahead with our chicken broth. I'm doing 1 quart. If you're doing the full recipe, you want to put 2. I like to just reach for an organic chicken broth that does not have sugar in it. You'd be surprised to see, if you look at the back of the ingredient list, how many broth companies are putting sugar in their broth to make it taste good for the client, right? And so it may be disguised as dextrose, maltodextrose, things like that. So you want to make sure it is unsweetened, essentially, has no sugar in it. Let's go ahead and add 2 organic chicken breasts whole. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why we're adding them whole, because number 1 is the easiest way to do it. And then number 2, as this cooks, once it's fully cooked, we can either take it out and chop it up or shred it with 2 forks. It'll break up very easily. Sometimes you can even just break it up with tongs inside the crock pot. It is the easiest way to make this recipe. Okay. So then go ahead and take your half a cup of brown rice. I'm doing half a recipe, so I'm doing a 1/4 cup, and turn your back and let's rinse this thoroughly. So rice contains arsenic, which is a heavy metal. that has been linked to cancer and other issues. But it's often found in water. That's why we have water, purification systems in every town, right? The tap water. But it's often found in rice because rice grows in water, right? And so even organic will have traces of arsenic. So it's really important to rinse your rice. If you can soak it the night before, even better. Another method to remove arsenic from your rice is to boil it like pasta and then strain it off. But I just go ahead and rinse it. I buy organic. If you can get your hands on and afford Lundberg rice, they do third-party testing on the rice to make sure that it doesn't have arsenic or has like very low levels, I believe. You have to research that to see if it's no arsenic at all or like, very, very low levels. But they're a great company. The rice is very expensive though. So go ahead and turn your back, put your rice in a fine mesh strainer and rinse it until it's clear. If you're using brown rice or wild rice, it's not really going to let off a lot of cloudiness, but you'll see what I'm talking about later when we do the white rice for the sheet tray sweet and sour chicken. There's going to be a lot of starch coming off of that rice, and you want to rinse it until it's clear. Okay, so what we're going to do now is season our soup with salt and pepper, okay? You want to be generous because you should have a good quality stock, won't have a ton of sodium in it. And you want to be like just kind of eyeballing it and see how much salt and pepper would I put on like a chicken breast, right? So the only thing in here that has salt so far is the stock, and it's not super salty. So go ahead and give it like I did 2 3-finger pinches of salt and 1 3-finger pinch of pepper. And I'll show you what it looks like. We're going to pop a lid on it. So it's not fully covered with broth. It's not like submerged in swimming. It's just basically just covered to the top of the chicken breast. And here's why. After 2 hours of cooking this on high with the lid on it, we're going to add some unsweetened almond milk to make it creamy, our rice, and let that cook for a couple hours, and our frozen vegetables. And then it'll all come together and it'll have the perfect amount of broth. So go ahead, turn your back, pop your ingredients in your crock pot, cover it with a lid, and cook it on high for 2 hours. All right, so after 2 hours, we will put our almond milk, our frozen vegetables, and our rice and let it cook for another 2 hours. So in the meantime, I'm going to pop these in the fridge. All right, so go ahead and take your mise en place and set it aside, and we'll come back to the soup later. All right, now grab your ingredients for the breakfast dish. We are going to be making rosemary sweet potatoes with bacon and scrambled eggs. Now you can skip the scrambled egg part if you prefer to just cook your eggs fresh every morning, totally fine. But if you're super busy and you find it difficult to leave the house without eating breakfast, scrambling them in advance until they're soft scrambled would be a really great option for you. And then you can reheat them with a pat of butter, maybe a little bit of cheese on top, and bring them back to life while your bacon and your potatoes are reheating in the oven. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do first is line up our potatoes and our bacon on some sheet trays and get them in the broiler. So let's turn our backs and turn our broiler on high. This is my mise en place. I've got my sweet potatoes, my eggs, my rosemary, my butter, my avocado oil. Let's see, in the bowl. need a bowl for beating my eggs. Okay, now I think I have everything. Let's chop our sweet potatoes. Now the recipe calls for 4 medium sweet potatoes. I recommend you try to get like-sized potatoes, but if you're ordering your groceries on Instacart, you never know what you're going to get. And so these are actually from our garden, and they're all different shapes and sizes, so that's totally okay. I've kind of got like 2 medium, 1 small, and a large, so we're just going to go with it. So first things first, take the ends off. Okay, put that in the compost bowl or in the trash. Then I usually start by going around the sweet potatoes and taking any like super ugly parts off. This is just personal preference. If it doesn't bother you, don't do it. But these are, as I said, from our garden, and so sometimes they can look a little rough. If you have sweet potatoes from like a CSA, you may have the same thing going on, or farmer's market, or from your own garden. I'm just going to run my knife down. Now, to make this recipe even easier, if you wanted to, what you could do, if you have it available at the grocery store, is you could buy the pre-diced sweet potatoes that come in the convenience aisle, like where you get your diced onion. But I've learned that they come in kind of small packs, so you may have to get like 2 or 3 packs, depending on what size pack they come in at your grocery store and how many potatoes you guys eat. Okay. So let's go ahead and cut them. If your sweet potato is larger than your knife or just about the same size as your knife, go ahead and cut it in half lengthwise, because that will make it easier to manipulate and to chop and to handle your sweet potatoes. So I've got some long ones. I'm going to cut them in half lengthwise first. I recommend you do the same, right? So now we've got a sweet potato that's much smaller than our knife, way easier to handle. Let's go ahead and lay it down on its cut side. And then holding our sweet potato with a bridge, we're going to go under the bridge with our knife, slice it right in half into 2 even pieces, lay it down on its cut side again, slice it in half lengthwise again. So we're going to quarter it, right, into 4 even strips. Now here's where we want to come through that rocking motion that I teach you guys inside my knife skills class. That's in, the very first part of the course, that pre-boarding and onboarding and welcome section before you ever get to week 1, and just slice through about 1/3 of an inch apart, like so. I love to chop them nice and thin like this because they cook up super quickly in the bread. So go ahead and turn your back really quick and grab your sheet trays and your parchment paper. These are the parchment paper sheets that are already like measured and ready to go, the pop-up ones. I love them. They're so easy. If you prefer to use unbleached, absolutely 100% please do. Just go ahead and pop your sweet potatoes on your parchment paper lined sheet tray and just continue chopping your potatoes. So laying it down on its cut side so it's nice and sturdy for you, holding your sweet potato with a bridge, going under the bridge with your knife, slicing it into quarters lengthwise, right? Get an even sized strip. Beautiful. And then turn those strips, holding the sweet potatoes with your claw so you're not cutting your fingers, slicing 1/3 of an inch apart, or whatever you're comfortable with. Just know that if you chop your sweet potatoes larger, they'll take longer to cook. So just be mindful of that. As we're going through the course, I'll say it many times, we want to cook with our senses. So we're going to be looking, smelling, tasting our food along the way so that we don't let anything burn in the broiler. So if yours look a different size than mine, that's totally fine. You are going to use your senses to know when they're done. So continue chopping through, going as fast or slow as you need to, just making sure that you're safe, that your fingers are tucked under your knuckles, and you're having fun. You could use any type of potato you want to. You could use a baby potato and just cut them in halves or quarters depending on their size. Now this part right here is pretty small, so I'm just going to only cut this part in half. Same for this guy. I'll just cut this guy in half. So that's another thing. Be mindful of, you know, the sizes, because we want all of our potatoes to be relatively the same size so that they all cook at the same size, same time in the oven. So as I was saying, you could do baby potatoes. You could do regular Idaho potatoes. You could do red potatoes, yellow Yukon Gold potatoes. Any potato you have, all works the same. And then you could do any herbs you'd like. If you don't like rosemary, you could do thyme, you could do oregano. I would do any of those hardy winter herbs like that. Thyme, oregano, rosemary. You know, I would stay away from like basil and parsley and things that would cook up really fast in the oven, because these, even though we're going to cook them in the broiler on high at 500 degrees, they're going to take about 20 minutes to cook. So if we were to put something like basil or parsley or chives, a bean herb like that, a very delicate herb, they would like burn and kind of disintegrate by the time the potatoes were done. So that would be something you would add at the end instead of while it's cooking. So go ahead and just spread your potatoes out into a nice even layer like so. And oh, here it is. Over prepared. I'm looking around. It's right here. Spray your potatoes nicely with avocado oil. You don't want them to be drenched in oil, but you also don't want it to be too light, because potatoes and mushrooms both take up a lot of oil. They kind of absorb a lot of oil and they kind of dry out as they cook. And then from here, you want to just sprinkle like we did last week from up above, nice and evenly, make it rain, salt and pepper. I'm using pink Himalayan salt and brown black pepper. Celtic sea salt would be nice as well. Okay. Or like an Italian sea salt. Now let's go ahead and put these in the broiler on the bottom shelf at 500 degrees on high. All right, so now we're going to spread out our bacon onto another parchment paper sheet tray. So this is uncured bacon. This is actually from Simple Truth from Kroger. Now, Kroger owns like a variety of different grocery stores. It's basically like, when I say Kroger, I just mean like your ordinary grocery store. It's not the fancy one that has all the gourmet expensive ingredients. It's just like run-of-the-mill like grocery store that you go to. It happens to be a Kroger in our town. Kroger does own several other sister stores. They have various names, and you can find the list of them inside my Flair Free Pantry Makeover mini course. So if you got free access to the Flair Free Pantry Makeover mini course when you joined the meal prep solution, you can go in and log in and see that list. Otherwise, it is an option for one of the prizes that you can win if you stay consistent and you post 6 pictures of your meal prep inside our private online group on my website in a row. So 6 pictures in 6 weeks. Doesn't matter when you start, but they do have to be in a row, right? You can enter, you will qualify to win a free prize, and access to my Flair Free Pantry Makeover mini course is one of those. So what I'm doing here is literally just lining up that bacon side by side on the sheet tray. I'm getting it nice and tight. I was able to get 1 pack in 1 piece on 1 sheet tray. I'm going to turn my back to get another sheet tray and another piece of parchment and do the same thing with the second pack of bacon. All right, so I've got another sheet tray and another piece of parchment. Go ahead and just do the last pack of bacon. If you only wanted to do half a recipe, you absolutely can. You know, the more we age, the more protein we need. Protein is the building blocks of our cells, and so I like to recommend that we eat 3 eggs a day. And, if you can squeeze in another protein source, whether that's some broccoli or some spinach or some kale or some breakfast meats. So we're doing a sugar-free, uncured bacon. Applegate also has amazing products. I think Greenfield is another company that I often use, but Simple Truth just came out with their own, which is awesome because it's a little bit cheaper. It's like $1 cheaper. But you can also do ground turkey sausage and make patties or just crumble it up and serve that alongside the eggs as well. So there you have it. We've got 2 sheet trays of bacon. We can put them in the oven, in the broiler with our sweet potatoes. These will take about 13 minutes per tray. So our sweet potatoes need about 20 minutes to cook. So we can alternate these bacon trays. Once these are done, slide the new one in. You can get it all done right now. So go ahead and turn your back once you've gotten your uncured sugar-free bacon all lined up onto a parchment paper lined sheet tray. Pop it in the broiler and we'll watch it. We're going to smell it. We're going to rotate it if we need to. We'll come back to it, okay, in about maybe 10 minutes. Now, if your oven is large enough, you can go ahead and give this a try. You may be able to slide your sheet trays in side by side, and you may be able to fit 2 on each rack. And then in that case, you can go ahead and do that too. But I'm just going to do one at a time just to show you guys for anybody that has a small oven. So I'm going to set this aside and give my hands a wash. So I suggest you do the same. All right. Take a second, get yourself situated, grab a little drinky drink, whatever you gotta do. Now, let's grab our eggs. We need a bowl to beat our eggs, and we need a pan. Okay, so let me show you a couple things before we get cracking over here. Unintended. I've got a large triple bonded stainless steel all-clad pan on the stove. It's been on number 4, so 5 would be medium. So it's been on medium low for about, 30 minutes. This pan is pretty hot. If you want to cook on stainless steel, you can also cook on cast iron. Go ahead and please get your pan on medium heat right now. It's going to take about 10 minutes to heat up. Let's do medium, and then we'll see, do we need to turn it up a little bit? If you're cooking on nonstick or a ceramic pan, go ahead and put it on the stove right now on low, okay? Okay, so while your pan is heating, and being mindful that if you have it on medium high or something, let's use our nose. You can usually smell when a pan is getting very hot. We don't want it to be too hot. We don't want our eggs to get brown and ugly, right? We want them to be nice and smooth and silky and beautiful. Let's go ahead and crack 2 dozen eggs. I like to recommend that you crack them on a flat surface. So I'm going to crack them on my cutting board. When you crack on the edge of a bowl like that, you have a greater chance of getting shells in there. So go ahead and just crack your eggs while we wait for our pan to heat up. right, so again, we are using organic pastured eggs. These are from Vital Farms, and then I also have some from Imperfect Foods. They also merged with Misfit Markets. I love them because they offer flare-free ingredients at a discounted rate. Just checking for shells. If you do get a shell in there, you can take one of the other shells and use it as like a magnet. It will be drawn to the shell. So you can try it out of there with that. I've got two eggs left here. So I'm gonna put those in the fridge. Now let's go ahead and beat these up. Can you smell your bacon? So I've got my bacon on the middle rack of the oven. So it's in the broiler on 500, but it's in the middle of the oven, right? So the closer your food is to the very top of the broiler, the faster it's going to cook, and the more risk you have for something to burn, especially parchment paper. So if you have a very hot broiler, if you have like a gas broiler, I have an electric broiler, then you want to be very careful and very aware of what's going on. You want to stay very close to the oven and check on it often. So I recommend we go ahead and get in there and check on what's going on. I hear a lot of sizzling. I can smell the bacon. Let's make sure it's okay. Okay, so it's totally looking fine. It's just making a lot of noise. I think it's just really quiet in here. So I'm going to just rotate it because I can see this side is cooking faster than this. So I'm just going to rotate it and we'll keep an eye on it. While we are in there, I just realized we completely forgot to put our rosemary. So let's grab our sweet potatoes out and just pop our rosemary sprigs on there. This seems to be a running theme. Last week I forgot to put the rosemary on the salmon. This week I'm forgetting the rosemary on the sweet potatoes. It's okay, we still got time. Toss your sprigs of rosemary right on top of your sweet potatoes. Give them a little spritz with oil and pop them back in the broiler on the bottom shelf. All right, now grab your skillet or go over to your skillet, I'm sorry. I'm gonna bring mine here so you guys can see what I'm doing. So this pan is hot, right? You know your pan is hot when you hold your hand about 4 to 6 inches above the pan and you can feel a radiant heat. So I'm gonna put the heat on medium because I don't want to burn these eggs. So we'll see how hot the pan is once we put the eggs in. So let's coat it with some oil. This is a very large pan, and it is stainless steel, so it benefits from having oil in there. But the real benefit, if you want to cook eggs in a stainless steel pan, you don't want them to stick, is just to make sure that your pan is hot enough. It shouldn't be scorching hot and smoking because, like I said earlier, your eggs are going to cook too fast and they're going to get brown. But if it's too cold, your eggs are going to stick. So hopefully having this on medium heat or medium low for about 30 minutes has been enough time for me to cook these eggs. And so if your pan is not hot yet, go ahead and pause this video and just stand there and wait. Until you hold your hand above the pan, you should feel a radiant heat about 4 to 6 inches above. Okay, you can see my butter is melting. Oh, it smells good. So I'm good to go. I've added some oil. I added some butter. I recommend you do the same. It does taste nice with the vegan butter. Go ahead and just throw your eggs in. If you don't have a large enough pan to cook 24 eggs, we'll do it in batches. Pour some in, cook it, take it out, let the pan get hot again, add more oil, add more butter, and add the rest of your eggs and cook those too. So once your eggs are in here, you can start moving them around. And as I said earlier, if you see any unpopped eggs that didn't get beaten, just go ahead and pop those and beat them now. As I said earlier, we're going to try to cook these a little bit under what we would normally like. That way, when we reheat them in the oven all week long, they're not dry and lackluster, and sometimes eggs can like turn green when they get too overcooked. Okay, so I'm moving my eggs around. I don't see any sticking on the bottom, which is nice, but I feel like it's cooking rather slowly, so I'm just trying to heat up a little bit. So I've got it on medium-high. So with eggs, it helps to give the pan the opportunity to cook the eggs, right? So you don't want to just be stirring and stirring and stirring, because it'll actually take you longer. So you can see I'm just slowly moving the eggs around, giving it a chance to cook. And any minute now, this will really accelerate and we'll be done in a pinch. Once it gets going, it's usually pretty quick. This is a lot of eggs, so it's just going to take a little bit of time. So while you're in there, if you want to, you can also add a little bit of salt and pepper. If you want to just keep them plain and season them like to taste when you eat them, that's totally fine too. As I said earlier, when you reheat these, you can add a little pat of butter to the top, cover your container with foil, and bake them in the oven at 350 while you're reheating your sweet potatoes and your bacon. I like to keep all the components for this separate in my meal prep because they all kind of cook up a little bit differently in the oven when you reheat. Like the sweet potatoes are going to take way longer than the bacon and the eggs to reheat. So I usually keep them separate. Plus, I kind of like to plate this family style and just pull out what we need and reheat that either on a sheet tray or in an oven safe baking dish. Let's check our bacon one more time as our eggs are cooking. Give them a second to just cook a little bit more. Wow, wow, wow. Look at that, guys. I don't even know how long that took. Okay, our Alexa broke, and so I haven't been able to be setting timers lately, which is annoying, but we need to get a new one. But look at that. Almost done. I think what we should do is put the other tray of bacon in and get that going, because then we can move this to the bottom shelf eventually and just cook it a little bit slower so that nothing's getting burnt and while other pieces are kind of undercooked. So you can see it's really almost done. Let's set this aside and let's pop our other tray in. Oh my gosh, the rosemary and the potatoes smell so good. Not forgetting to come back to our eggs. Let's go ahead and give them a stir. Yes, now we're getting somewhere. You could also add cheese. I personally find the flavor of eggs, just plain eggs with cheese, to be a little bit too delicate for me if I'm using vegan cheese. So that's like the one instance I would ever say, if you can tolerate it, go ahead and get yourself like an organic shredded, like a bag of organic shredded cheese and toss that on top of your eggs with a little pat of butter to rejuvenate them. Delicious. But if you have a dairy allergy, I would say it's going to taste better for you if you've sauteed some vegetables, sauteed some onions, added that to your eggs, and then added that vegan cheese. So I find that the flavor is a lot easier to mask and to deal with when it's blended with other things. All right, so let me just show you up close where we are right now with these eggs, because I think they're very close to being done. Oops. I don't want to steam you guys out here. But you can see they're still wet, right? They're still very loose. They're still raw, essentially. But they're very close to being done. We want them to be softer than we would normally eat them, but still cooked. We can't put uncooked eggs in the fridge. So once they get to that point where they're just right, we'll take them right out of this pan. If we leave them in the pan, they're going to carry over cook, and we don't want that. So resist the urge to scrape the bottom of the pan if you have eggs that are cooked on the bottom of the pan and sticking. Resist the urge to scrape that off. okay, because it's just not going to taste very good. And I'm going to show you if you have eggs that stick to your pan. That's another thing. Scrambled eggs, they just stick, okay? They're going to stick to cast iron. I'm going to turn these off for me. You can cook your eggs until you like them. I'm going to show you what these look like. A soft scrambled egg. Okay, so we're going to take them right out of the pan and put them in, I'm going to put them in a family style container. Okay, you can put them if it's just you, or if you're in a rush every morning and you find it difficult to eat your meal prep and you want to take it to go, do them in individual containers. And you will see, even though your eggs look a little wet, maybe not quite how you would like them right now, which by the way, if this is how you like to eat your eggs, I wouldn't recommend cooking them less than this, me personally, because I don't want you guys to be putting raw eggs in the fridge. But I don't know what I was saying. Oh, I know what I was saying. You can see that right now they're undercooked. Right? They're very wet and shiny. They're soft scrambled. But there's 24 eggs in there and they're very hot. So by the time this cools fully, they're going to set up even more. So it's totally okay to pull them at this stage, in my opinion. Now, as I said earlier, if you like a soft scrambled egg, maybe you're going to wait to just soft scramble your eggs to order while your potatoes and your bacon are reheating in the oven. Because by the time we package these and reheat these throughout the week, they're not going to be soft scrambled anymore. So there you go. We've got 24 scrambled eggs. We've got some bacon working. We got some sweet potatoes. Go ahead and package up your eggs however you like, and then we'll come back to center. If your pan looks like this, go ahead and fill it halfway with water and put it on your stove on high. And we're just going to boil this pan until the eggs release from the bottom, and it will work. This is the easiest way to clean stainless steel or even enamel cast iron or cast iron if something sticks. So go ahead and turn your back and fill it halfway with water if your egg stuck to the bottom, and boil it on high. We're not going to do this for ceramic. Ceramic, you're just going to have to clean. All right, once you're done with that, we're going to grab our sweet potatoes out of the oven. We're going to give them a mix and check on them. And we're going to look at our bacon, and perhaps if it's ready, rotate that in the oven. So let's go ahead and look in the broiler, check on our sweet potatoes, and give them a mix and pop them back in. So this is what my sweet potatoes look like right now. They smell good, but they're still very raw. They're undercooked. And so I'm just going to give them a stir. And I'm going to continue cooking them. Usually, once I get close to the end, I'll move it to the middle or the top of the oven and get some nice color up there. So I do like to see some browning on my sweet potatoes. So this is where we're at right now. Probably about halfway to where we want to be. So go ahead and pop them back in the bottom rack of the broiler on high level. All right, like clockwork, this is the same thing that happened to the last one. I've got one piece of bacon that's cooking really quickly here. This side isn't even sizzling, so I'm going to rotate this in the oven back on the middle shelf of the broiler. I'm just going to rotate the pan and we'll check on it again soon. All right, so we are halfway done with our breakfast recipe. And we've got our crock pot soup cooking. So we're cooking here. Let's go ahead and take a second to turn our back and tidy up. We do want to wash or sanitize our board here if you were cracking raw eggs. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of second to tidy up. And then we'll come back to center with our sheet tray, sweet and sour chicken mise en place. All right, so I've got my sweet and sour chicken mise en place here, all the ingredients and the equipment that I need. Let's go ahead and pop into the oven and check on that other tray of bacon. Okay, so this is where our current tray of bacon is. Okay, just for reference, this is where our other one was. So we've still got a few more minutes on it. I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes so I don't forget about this while we start our chicken recipe. So go ahead and get into the broiler, check on your bacon and see, is it done to your liking yet? Does it need a little bit more time? And then set a timer for yourself. Just in case your oven cooks faster than mine and it's ready before mine, we don't want to forget. Okay, let us start with the rice. So we're going to be making a sweet and sour sauce. We're going to be making chicken and vegetables in the broiler. So let's go ahead and start with our rice. I've got 1.5 cups of organic white rice that I'm going to turn my back and rinse until the water rinses clear. You'll see in the beginning, if you hold your hand under while it's rinsing, it'll be very cloudy. We just want to get our hand in there and mix while the water's running over it until the water runs clear. All right, then I just give it a little shake to drain all of the water off. That took about 45 seconds to rinse. That can go straight into your pot. With 3 cups of filtered water. Okay. Now, if you're cooking in a stainless steel pan like I am, if we were to rip this on high, what's going to happen is our rice is going to stick to the bottom of the pot because we've got cold water and cold rice in a triple bonded stainless steel pot, and it will stick. If you're cooking in like a nonstick pot, which I don't recommend, by the way, I'm sorry, you're going to have to switch that out eventually, but if you are cooking in a nonstick pot, you won't have to do this. You can put your rice on the stove, turn it to high, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down low, okay? But for me, because I'm cooking in a triple bonded stainless steel pot, or if you were cooking in an enameled cast iron, like a Staub or a Le Creuset or a Meal Henri, you're going to want to do it the way that I'm going to do it, which is to just turn it to low. I'm gonna put mine on 3, okay? We're gonna turn it to low, we're gonna put a lid on it, and we're just gonna cook it until we can smell it. It's basically the same as cooking it in a rice cooker, right? There's no bringing it up to a boil, turning it down to a simmer, putting a lid on it. You can do it that way if you want to. But what I find is that we lose a lot of rice that way because a lot of it will stick. So let's just go ahead and do low and slow, pop a lid on it, turn it to low. I'm gonna put mine to 3. And then we will cook it for about, should take about 30 minutes or so while we're doing other things until we can smell it, and then we'll test it for doneness. All right, now while I was over there, I could smell my bacon. I had my timer set to 5 minutes. It only took 4. So this is done. And after I sat here and thought about it, this looks pretty good to me. I think by the time we reheat this in the oven for breakfast, because you can put it on a sheet tray and reheat it without covering it, and it'll crisp up again. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull both of these. We're gonna take them off of the sheet trays and put them onto a paper towel lined plate to drain off that fat. And we'll let it cool, and then we'll package it up for breakfast. So go ahead and check on your bacon, see if it's done. It could be ever so slightly underdone. That's totally fine, because when we reheat it in the next coming days, we'll bring it back to life and crisp it up perfectly in the oven. All right, so grab a plate and a paper towel, and then our tongs that we have for our mise en place. And let's just take the bacon off the sheet tray and drain it onto the paper towel lined plate. Once you've gotten all of your bacon off of your sheet tray and onto the paper towel lined sheet tray, go ahead and just set it aside to cool completely, okay? All right, let me come back and show you what these eggs look like. They're very hot. The bowl is very hot, so I'm going to give them a stir. That will help accelerate the cooling process. Exposing those hot eggs from the bottom, bringing them to the top. So we might do that a couple times. So you can see they're already cooking more as they sit here. All right, so let's go ahead and just set our bacon sheet trays aside to cool. They'll be easier to clean up later once they're not so good. And then let's get into the broiler and rotate our potatoes and maybe consider putting them one rack higher, a little bit closer to the broiler to get some color on them if they're nearly done. Oh, it smells so good with the rosemary. So this is where having a tasting spoon is handy. Okay, you can kind of poke around. That one went through. This one did not go through. That one right there wasn't done. So this one, let's see. Okay. It's definitely close to being done, but still crunchy. So let's go ahead and move our sweet potatoes up to the middle rack just to accelerate things and get going to get some color on. So our potatoes are on the very middle rack of the oven now. Let's come back to our sweet and sour chicken. Got our rice on low. It's working on in the background. Let's go ahead and chop all of our vegetables and then cut our chicken and make our sauce. So let's start with the bell pepper. We're going to set it down and envisioning that core with all the seeds being in the center, we're going to cut about a half of an inch away from that stem with a sawing motion, just going down to remove the planks from the bell pepper so that the seeds and the core stay intact. You can even cut that very bottom piece off. Okay. This goes in the compost bin or the garbage. And now we have 4 beautiful bell pepper planks. What we can do now, I like these to be kind of large, so let's go ahead and cut these into like a 2-inch dice. So I'm just going to cut these bell pepper planks in half and then in half again. So I've got these big, beautiful pieces. If you've got an extra large bell pepper and you need to chop it 3 times, totally fine. We just want the parts to be relatively similar in size. So just like that. We should have already had a half a bag of carrot chips. I just chopped these myself because I have a lot of carrots in the fridge. Okay, and now we need 1 large onion. Let's go ahead and take the ends off. I like to use red onion just for the color, but you could use any color you want. I just think with the orange carrots and the green bell pepper and the red onion, it looks really pretty. So cut the ends off, then lay it down on its cut side and slice it in half so that you can get your fingers in there to remove that skin and the first peel and the first layer of onion. So it's very rubbery and hard to chew. So I usually just get rid of that first layer. Okay, now you've got 2 onion halves. What we're going to do from here is make a bridge with our fingers, cut it in half lengthwise into 2 even pieces, and then just turn that and we're going to cut 1, 2, 3 times to give ourselves a nice large dice. Okay. Right now, what we can do actually to save ourselves a little bit of dishes, why don't we go ahead and strain off some of the baking fat from our sheet tray. Replace the parchment. And we can use these sheet trays for our sweet and sour chicken. I think we're only going to need 1 sheet tray, but we'll see. Doesn't hurt to reuse these, especially for something savory. let's go ahead and get our sheet trays prepped. Just draining off that fat. You can put that in a Ziploc and put it in the garbage for clean disposal. Or you can save it if you want to save it for cooking potatoes or something. Or if you want to cook your burgers in it tonight for the smash burger salad, you can use the bacon fat for that. All right, set your bacon fat aside. We grab some more parchment paper. I've got the pop-up sheets that I love. They're pre-cut. All right, nice fresh clean surface to work on here. Yay! Let's go ahead and transfer our veggies. I like to keep them kind of grouped like this so we can see, are the onions and the bell peppers cooking faster than the carrots? Because if so, we can pull off the vegetables that are done and then let the other ones cook a little bit more, right? We can kind of gauge it better. Okay, yeah, maybe we need 2 sheet trays. Let's do veggies on one. Just like so. Ooh, this looks good already. Yes, right? And then we'll do our chicken on it. Let's go ahead and take your other sheet tray, put a new fresh piece of parchment on there. Now, what we're gonna do, instead of getting our cutting board all chickeny and having to like clean it again, I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna keep the parchment down here just to save my space because I'm gonna move this over so you can see what I'm doing. We are going to cut our chicken tenders with scissors. So I like to just take that very end piece that has the tendon in there and cut that off. And then I'm just gonna cut this into large chunks. So I just did 5 pieces. So about 4 to 5 pieces per tenderloin, depending on how large it is. We want to just get, that was 4, okay. We just want to get something that's similar in size to those bell peppers that we cut. So like a 2-inch piece. Or, let me see, let me measure. These 2 inches or 1 inch. Sometimes you might get some pieces that are hard to cut through. If it's hard to cut through, it's going to be hard to chew through. So go ahead and get rid of it. Yeah, 2-inch piece. So starting with that tendon, I usually just cut that piece out. Chewy and hard to eat. And then I'll cut 1, 2, 3 to 5 times through each tendon. If you wanted to do this with, just regular organic chicken breasts, you absolutely could. Get yourself like a compressed cutting board, a compressed paper cutting board. Epicurean is my favorite brand. The reason why I suggest that is because you can cut on the cutting board, rinse it, and wash it in the dishwasher. It does not like harbor bacteria like wood does or bamboo. So I always like to keep those on hand for cutting meat. But I just feel like this is way less messy, so I'm just doing it this way. Now, chicken tenders are a little bit more expensive, so you do you. And sometimes they're hard to find in organic, to be honest. So I'm doing 3 packs. I'm doing the full recipe. Oof, there's some chewy bits in here that are hard to cut, so I'm cutting those off. Trust me, you'll thank me later for that. Just keep going through, cutting off that tendon at the very top. And then slicing it into 2-inch chunks. If you can't have chicken, you could do like a turkey breast. They have a boneless option. You could also do this with steak if you wanted to. If you're a vegetarian, I like to recommend cauliflower florets. You can just cook all of the vegetables together then. On 1 sheet tray probably. Or cook the cauliflower separate. Sometimes cauliflower cooks up really nicely if you add a little bit of water to the tray. So kind of like help it steam through as it broils. These kitchen shears are losing their sharpness. I'm gonna have to get a new pair. Okay, we're nearing the end here. Again, you could totally just use a knife and a cutting board if you want to. If you don't have a compressed paper, or some people have plastic cutting boards, plastic's not great for your knives, so I usually don't recommend it. Plus, little like microplastics are probably getting shredded and cut into your food. So I just stay away from plastic in general, just because of its cancer causing and hormone disrupting potential. But plastic would be good as well for this if that's all you had, if you didn't have compressed paper. All right, I'm just gonna tidy up the station here and spread out my chicken into an even layer on the sheet tray. I recommend you do the same for yourself so that the chicken has like an opportunity to cook evenly in the broiler. Give it some space. So I'm going to turn my back and wash my hands, and then I'll show you what this looks like and what we're going to do next. All right, now I can really smell my rosemary, so I'm going to check on my sweet potatoes. And while I'm over there, I'm going to check on my pan that has the water boiling to release those scrambled eggs and see what's going on. Oh, yeah. No wonder I can really smell the rosemary. These potatoes are done. Look at that beautiful color. Wow. Don't be afraid to get some color on your food, guys, because watch this. I'm going to pull out the rosemary, right? That's too hot for you. You can use tongs. Because once you mix it up, it's not going to be like, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be, you're going to see some brown, you're going to see some orange. It's going to be beautiful. Now, hopefully, yours are not burnt past this. Or not burnt, I should say. These are not burnt. Hopefully, yours are not burnt and they're not charred past this. I think this is a beautiful color. So if your broiler runs hotter than mine, and that time it took us to chop the chicken was too long for your potatoes to be on the middle rack, you need to work on using your senses. We should be following our nose. We should be able to smell something burning. We should be able to smell that rosemary getting color. So go ahead and taste it for salt, because this is a great opportunity to add more salt. It's gonna stick to the hot potatoes and melt right in. And then that way, your breakfast will be tasty and delicious. So add a little bit more salt if needed, give it one more mix, and then spread it all out to cool while we come back to our sweet potato or our sweet and sour chicken. Beautiful. Breakfast is done. All right, so let me show you what's going on with my pot here. I'm going to drain off this cooking liquid. And I'm going to show you why we added water and brought that water to a boil, because it will help us scrape all the egg off the pan. And if you can't get it all off that first time, you just add more water and you bring it up to boil again. Okay? This is the best way to help yourself clean. Cast iron, triple bonded stainless steel, or what's it called? Enamel cast iron. Okay, so just go ahead and give that a scrape. Toss it in the compost bin or the garbage. add more water, put it back on the stove on high. All right, now do yourself a favor and resist the urge to put any dish soap in your pot as it's boiling, because that can boil over and you can have a big soapy mess. So don't do that. It doesn't necessarily need that. It really just needs the heat from the boiling water. So this is what my chicken tray looks like. This is what my veggie tray looks like. I hope you've gotten to the same point that I have. If you haven't, go ahead and pause this and continue chopping your chicken and chopping your green peppers and your red onion. If you have, grab your avocado oil spray. Give your chicken a light spray. It doesn't need too much. Veggies, a light spray, also doesn't need too much. And let's go ahead and season everything with salt and pepper. Not a lot of pepper, just a little. All right. See what I mean by a little bit of pepper? It's not too much. Obviously, if you like things peppery, go ahead and do you. You do you, right? Go ahead and pop these into the broiler with the vegetables. Let's do the vegetables on the top. Do the chicken on the bottom, and then we'll rotate halfway through. All right, now I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and then we will mix the vegetables, mix the chicken, rotate the trays in the broiler, and we'll cook it until it's done, adding our sweet and sour sauce. So speaking of sweet and sour sauce, let's go ahead and get a bowl. And our unsweetened ketchup. You can use honey, you can use granulated stevia, or even monk fruit sweetener if you wanted to. We need our coconut aminos, whatever type of organic vinegar you like, some garlic powder, and some arrowroot powder. You can also use tapioca starch. All right, so let's just go ahead and measure everything into this little bowl, and we will whisk it up. Oh no, I have to grab a whisk. Gosh. Okay, so 1 cup of honey. I'm going to eyeball it, but you can absolutely measure. I don't have enough honey because I need it for the dessert. So I'm going to do half a cup of honey and half a cup of monk fruit. Okay. 1 tablespoon of arrowroot powder or tapioca starch. 1 teaspoon of garlic. A half a cup of vinegar. About half of what I have left in there. A 1/4 cup of no sugar added ketchup. Oops. About 4 tablespoons. What's the lid there? And then 1 tablespoon of coconut aminos. So coconut aminos comes from the sap of the palm tree. It has the same kind of umami flavor of soy sauce, but it's soy-free. And they season it with salt. And so it kind of has the same flavor, but it is a little bit sweeter. I mean, not a little bit. It's very sweet compared to soy sauce. Soy sauce is really just like a savory, salty umami flavor. Coconut aminos is sweet, kind of a molassesy flavor. So depending on how you're using it, if you wanted to use it like in fried rice, for example, which shouldn't be sweet at all, you would have to overcompensate with scallions and onions and garlic to kind of mask that sweetness. But this is great for anything that you would normally want sweetness in, like pad thai or teriyaki sauce, sweet and sour sauce. I use it for everything. I don't use gluten-free soy sauce anymore, but if you have a coconut allergy, you can use gluten-free soy sauce as well. Okay. So go ahead and just whisk that up. I'm just going to use this fork. And we're going to taste it and see, does it need more sweetener? Does it need more ketchup? Does it need more garlic? Oh my gosh. I love this sauce. So good. It's a little tart for me. I'm going to add a tiny bit more monk fruit since I wasn't really measuring. Might be a little bit off, but if you're measuring with measuring cups, it's probably perfect because I measured this sauce for you guys. Like as I was writing this recipe, I physically measured everything, but I struggle to measure. I don't like it. So taste it and adjust it to your liking. Okay, much better. Should be kind of equally sour and sweet. So if you taste yours and it's too sour, add a little bit more honey, add a little bit more stevia, more monk fruit. If it's too sweet, you might have to add another splash of vinegar. That is the downside to not measuring, not just like following the measurements with like to a T. But I think the benefit of it is that you can learn to taste and adjust, which is really a really important life skill to have. Okay. So now all we have left to do for this, as we're waiting for our rice to cook, as we're waiting for our vegetables and our chicken to broil in the oven, we can't put this sauce on it just yet. We're going to do that closer to the end. And the reason why we add this and then cook it some more is because heat activates that thickener. The arrowroot powder or the tapioca starch has to be activated by a heat source in order to actually thicken the sauce. You can see right now it's very thin, but once we pour it onto the hot sheet trays and we mix it in and we cook it some more, it's going to thicken up and it's going to be beautiful, just like picture. So why don't we take a second to just tidy up and put some things away and come back to center with our smash burger salad mise en place, because right now we're kind of in a waiting period where we just need to let our food cook before we can finish off this dish. So go ahead and tidy up. We'll come back to center the smash burger salad with flare-free ranch ingredients. All right, so this is what it looks like after 10 minutes on the middle rack of the broiler. I'm going to rotate this because this is what our chicken looks like. Nowhere near ready, right? So let's go ahead and mix both and then rotate the trays and put the chicken on the middle rack of the oven to accelerate things. Spreading it back out, right? Go ahead and get that in the oven. This is not cooking as fast as the vegetables. Oops, just lost a piece. All right, now for the vegetables, we can give them a mix. And these are nearly done. So why don't we go ahead and pour some of this sweet and sour sauce on there and get that going. So give your sauce one more mix and then just pour about half the sauce over the vegetables. And we'll pour the other half over the chicken. Give it a stir. And then we'll pop it on the bottom rack of the broiler. And you'll see this liquidy sauce will thicken up with the heat. Now check this out, guys. My rice is steaming. And it's only on low. Actually, I said I was going to set it. Yeah, I did. Okay, set it to 3. So it's already halfway cooked. I can still see some water in there. So I'm just going to give it a quick little mix, put the lid back on and let it keep going. Still looks wet. We want it to be really nicely steamed. So let's go ahead and check your rice. See what's going on in there. I can't believe all this steam that's coming out. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but okay. Never once came up to a boil. That's the trick to cooking rice in a stainless steel pan so that you don't lose a bunch of your rice by getting stuck to the bottom. Okay. Back to our smash burger salad. Let's grab all of our mise en place for our smash burger salad and get working on that. All right, so here's our mise en place for our smash burger salads. I do have my lettuce in the fridge. That's just doing its own thing. We don't necessarily need that right now. All right, so we are going to work on burgers first because they're going to take a little bit of a while. And then while our burgers are cooking, we can work on assembling the salad, chopping the onion, chopping the pickles, and making our flare-free ranch. So let's go ahead and grab like a plate. Let's grab 2 plates. Because what we're going to do first is just form our patties. So I like to take the pound of ground grass-fed beef and just using my hands, cut it in half, and then to cut it into 4s, okay, 4 even parts, so that I can break it apart. And now I've got 4 quarter pounders, essentially. Roll it into a ball and then flatten it out. We want these to be smash burgers, so we want them to be relatively flat and thin because they cook up super fast. Okay? So just like that. And actually, we need to stop and heat up our cast iron skillet because I did not tell you to do that. So let's go ahead and do this last burger here. Wash our hands. I'm sorry, guys. Wash our hands. And then we're going to get a cast iron skillet in the broiler to get hot for us because we're going to cook these in the broiler so that we can hopefully not make too much of a mess of the kitchen with the beef fat flying all over the place, right? So I've just got a well-seasoned cast iron skillet here. Mine is already warm. I've had it on low, but I wanted you to take your best well-seasoned cast iron skillet and pop it in the broiler. Let's go ahead and move our little pan over and find a spot for it in the broiler on the bottom shelf. And while we're in there, let's go ahead and pull our chicken out and take a look at it. We're kind of bouncing all over the place, so that's okay. This is the nature of meal prepping, right? The most efficient, quickest ways. We're going to do what we can while we can do it, and then if we have to wait, we're going to work on something else. So I'm just going to take a piece of chicken. Yeah, okay. I'm going to cut it in half with my spoon, a big piece. You want to find a big piece of chicken, cut it in half, and just see, how's it looking? Is it fully cooked, or is it still pink on the inside? Mine is still pink. So that tells me I've got a few more minutes. It's not that pink, okay? It's somewhat pink on the inside. So I'm going to pour the sweet and sour sauce over the top. So go ahead and take your sweet and sour sauce, give it one last mix, and pour it over your chicken. Because that is going to thicken up as the chicken continues to cook. The name of the game with white, like boneless, skinless chicken like we have here is to not overcook it. We don't want to cook it to death. We just want to cook it to 165 or until when you cut that piece of chicken open, it's fully opaque on the inside. So we do not want to overcook it. So now is the time to, if you cut open a large piece of your chicken and it's pink on the inside, but mostly cooked through, nearly done, go ahead and add the rest of your sweet and sour sauce, give it a mix, pop it back on the middle shelf in the broiler, and we're going to cook it for a few more minutes. All right, I just set the timer for 3 minutes, so we will come back to that sweet and sour chicken soon. In the meantime, let's keep banging away on our smash burgers. We're just taking that 1/4 pound of meat, rolling it into a ball, smashing it down into a nice thin patty. My OCD always comes out when I make burgers. I like them to be round. But if you like them to be, abstract in shape, go ahead and do however you like to. But I'm just kind of layering them on this plate because we're going to cook these in a cast iron skillet. Maybe 2. We'll see. Maybe we need to do 2 cast iron skillets just to really get it going. See how many of these we can cook in that skillet. They are kind of big, but the thing about burgers is they shrink up as they cook. So they're going to start large, right? And then they're going to seize up and they're going to shrink up. And then we're going to smash them. Okay. So I've got my 2nd pound. It's going to cut that in half and then in half again. Give you 4 even pieces, right? Take your 1/4 pound of beef, roll it into a nice firm ball, and then smash it down. I just love this salad, like with a so we do 2 pounds of beef, but if you feel like this is too much for you and you just want to do 1 pound, absolutely 100% go for it. As I was talking about earlier, the more we age, the more protein we need. And right now, for me and my age, I need about 100 grams of protein a day. So it's a lot of protein. So maybe I'll eat 2 patties with 1 salad for dinner. You can also eat these for lunch. Obviously, the sweet and sour chicken might it depends on how you like it, right? I think the sweet and sour chicken is a really easy to transport because it's a 1 dish type of thing, right? The rice and the chicken and the veggies all go together. Boom, you reheat it. But I also love a salad for lunch. I love a lighter lunch. So it depends on what you like and what you prefer. So if you wanted to eat this as a dinner salad, you could package all the components separately, right? We got our greens, we got our dressing, we got our veggie toppings, and then our meat. And then you could just build a salad for dinner very easily. Otherwise, you're going to want to package your burgers separate from your salad and then bring a little cup of dressing with you. So you can see how it's a little bit more labor intensive to take this as a lunch. So you decide for you what's best. That was our timer for 3 minutes on our chicken. Go ahead and finish up the last patty if you can, relatively quickly. This is a big one. Okay. Then let's wash our hands and get in there and check on our sweet and sour chicken. Oh, it smells good. All right. Let's give this a toss. Let's cut open the chicken. It looks like the sauce needs a little bit more time. It might even need a little bit more arrowroot powder, it looks like. So the chicken actually lets off a lot of water, and so that can thin out the consistency of our sauce. It may require us to add a little bit more thickener to the tray, which is totally fine. Okay, my chicken's a little underdone, just ever so slightly, and it needs a little salt. So if you want to go ahead and take a bite of a piece and check it out, you want to be safe and grab a small piece. I think it needs a little bit more time. We'll see how the sauce, if it thickens up with a little bit more time in the oven. And let's put this back in on the middle shelf and grab our veggies, see what's going on. All right, veggies are done. Absolutely 100% done. Don't want to cook these anymore. I like them to be a little bit tender crisp, get a little texture. So you can see that sauce completely soaked up and thickened up. And it's like a nice glaze coating the vegetables. Stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Smells amazing in here. So let's taste our veggies and see, do they need salt? What's going on in there? I like to grab a little bit of everything because the green peppers are going to give a little bit of acidity, right? So that'll give you an accurate, just taste. Oops. Hot. Mm. Mm. For me, those don't need anything. Perfectly seasoned, nice and crunchy, beautiful sauce, amazing. Mm. I am loving that. I'm going to spread these out and put them as far away from the oven as I can get so that they cool quickly. So the faster these can cool, the less they're going to carry over cook. So if you wanted to, say you pulled yours out and they're a little bit overdone for your liking, take them off of your sheet tray, chill them on a plate, right? Or pop them in the fridge. Many different ways you can do it, but I think for me and how I like it, tender crisp, these are perfect. I'm going to pull them aside and let them chill on the counter. All right, so this is a great opportunity as well to go ahead and check on our rice one more time and see, is it done yet? Because sometimes what you can do is pull it off the stove and let it continue steaming in that hot pot for another 10 minutes. Oh yeah. So just by looking at it, I can see before there was a little bit of glisten of water. You could see it hadn't really absorbed all the water yet. Now you can see it's nice and sticky. It's absorbed all of the water. It's perfectly done. So this would be a great opportunity. If you want to eat this tonight for dinner, this would be a great opportunity to take some out for meal prep for lunch or dinner at a later time. And then put the rest aside, keep the rest aside in the pot, the lid back on it, and just keep it warm because freshly cooked rice is vibe, right? It's a whole thing. It tastes delicious. So as you're reheating this in the coming days, it's not going to be like exactly the same texture as freshly cooked rice. You might have to add a splash of water and a foil on top to reconstitute it in the oven to get that beautiful fluffy texture. So go ahead and decide, do you want to eat some of this tonight? If so, let's take some out for meal prep and put the lid back on it. And we're not going to put it on the stove. We're going to keep it off the heat. But we're going to put the lid back on it, keep it warm for dinner tonight because we're near the end here. So I think that's what I'm going to do because I just love freshly cooked rice. So I'm going to do some for meal prep and some for dinner tonight. Yay! If you made too much rice, you can always freeze it. You just want it to be cool completely before you freeze it. So this is a great opportunity to help our rice cool quicker is by taking it out of the pot and splitting it up into our meal prep containers. And this can even go in the fridge to help it chill. Because when we put hot food in a Tupperware container and put the lid on it, it's going to trap steam. It's going to trap moisture. It's going to change the texture of your food. It's going to change the color of your food. It's going to lose its beautiful bright color because it's going to carry over cook. So we don't want that, right? So go ahead and let everything cool completely. And if you want to accelerate the cooling process, pop it in the fridge after you've put it in these little containers, like so. Or if you're even doing a family style container, that's totally fine too. And then set the rest aside, keep warm to eat for dinner tonight if you so choose. All right, so I think because we have a lot of smash burgers, I think we should get 2 cast irons in the oven. If you don't have 2 cast irons, but you have an extra large cast iron, or if you have an extra large stainless steel skillet like we were using, you can put one of those in the oven too. Just being careful that when you go to grab that stainless steel out of the oven, you do it with an oven mitt because it's easy for our brain to want to grab stainless steel with a bare hand because we're used to cooking on the stove top with it. So I'm going to take another cast iron skillet and pop this in the broiler and pull our chicken out and check on it. Aha, okay. So we've got some browning on the chicken, very lightly, which is nice. Okay. My cat's got the chicken stuff. But there's only one way to tell. You gotta taste it and see. Oh, yes. Oh, it smells so good. I can't wait to eat this tonight. My mouth is watering. All right. Benefit of being the cook. I'm going to cut one piece in half and check it out. Okay. Looks fully cooked. Dip it in a little sauce. Mm. Mm. Wow. Oh my gosh, you guys. Dinner's going to be so good tonight. I do think it needs still a little bit of salt. So taste and adjust if you need. Absolutely stunning. This is going to get mixed with the veggies. So I'm just going to do that now just to show you because we're going to eat this tonight. So I don't have to really like try to chill it so much. In fact, I might even cover it with foil and just keep it warm while we finish our meal prep. So I'm going to put the veggies here. Oh my gosh, yes. Give it a toss. just to show you what it looks like. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so happy. And we can even plate. That's what we'll do. Why don't we plate some on our meal prep containers, and then we'll cover the rest with foil and just keep it warm. I'm not going to put it in the oven. I don't want it to overcook. Keep it warm, and then we'll check on the temperature right before we eat. And if we need to blast it in the broiler for a couple minutes, we'll do that just to get it hot again. Oh my gosh. Looky, looky. Ah, it's so beautiful. All right, let's plate it up with the rice in the meal prep container so we can take it for lunch or have it for dinner in the next couple nights. Yes. So we've even eaten this. We've eaten this as breakfast with some scrambled eggs in there. There's no rules, guys. Breaking fast is just breaking your overnight fast. That's what breakfast is, right? So you can eat anything you want for breakfast, including sweet and sour chicken with scrambled eggs. Totally. If you had leftover rice in the days to come, you can make fried rice and serve this on the side. I mean, come on. Doesn't that sound amazing? Okay. All right. So we've got 4 extra meals. Whether this is dinner or breakfast or lunch, we don't know yet. Time will tell. I'm gonna pop them in the fridge and let them cool. We've got breakfast done. We've got half of our lunch done, or our second dinner done. We've got a dinner in the crock pot, which, speaking of which, why don't we go into the crock pot and give it a stir and see what's going on with that chicken in there? Is it breaking up when we mix it with some tongs, or what's going on? All right, so this is what my crock pot soup looks like. Doesn't look like much of a soup right now. That's totally okay. I'm gonna get in there with some tongs to see what's going on with the chicken. Does it break apart easily? Okay. It's almost there. It's getting there. It's breaking up. Right? I'm able to do that. Not done yet though, right? So this would be a great time to pour our brown rice. Let's just do brown rice. Let's do brown rice and cook it for another hour. And then we'll add our peas and our almond milk and we'll cook it for 1 more hour after that. We should be good to go. All right, so add your brown rice or your wild rice to your creamy chicken and rice soup and put the lid back on and set a timer for 1 hour. When that 1 hour timer goes off, we're going to add our peas and we're going to add some almond milk and we're going to make it all come together. So now we're going to be in and out of the broiler making our smash burgers in our cast iron. So we've got cast irons in the oven. Let's go ahead and pull out the one that's been in the oven the longest so we can get some burgers going. Safety first, guys. So I've got a skillet, right? I'm going to add oil. Doesn't need a lot because the skillet is well seasoned and the fat from the beef is going to render off as it cooks. So as we put these in, let me grab a little more salt. As we put these into the skillet, we're going to season them with salt and pepper. I think key to a good burger is a lot of seasoning. So you do want to be relatively generous with your salt and pepper. So I usually do one side, pop it in, season side down, and then I'll season again the unseasoned side inside the pan. The salt and pepper, season side down, and they can be a little bit tight in the pan because, as I said before, the meat is going to seize up and kind of shrink as it cooks. So being very careful now, this pan is very, very hot. We're not going to grab it with our hand, right? We're going to season the back side. We don't have to be too generous on the back because we were very generous on the front. We don't want to oversalt our food, right? We can always add more. All right, now this is going to go in the broiler on the middle rack. Go ahead and grab your other cast iron skillet that we were preheating in there, and let's repeat. A little tiny bit of oil, not too much. These burgers are going to let off a lot of their own fat. We're going to season with salt and pepper generously on the front side, right? In the pan they go, season side down. Now that they're in the pan, we can hit it with a little bit more seasoning on the back, not overdoing it here. You can always add more later. All right, being careful, you want to make sure that you grab your cast iron skillet with a hot pad and go ahead and pop this on the middle rack of the broiler on high. And I'm going to set a timer for 8 minutes and we'll watch it, we'll listen to it, we'll take a look at it, we'll see what's going on, we'll flip them when they're ready, and then we'll add cheese and cook them till they melt. So while our burgers are cooking, why don't we chop our veggies and make our flare-free ranch dressing? I'm going to give my board just a little wash just to make sure it's safe. Feel free to do the same if you need. All right, so just really quickly, as I'm thinking about it, just like we talked about with the eggs last week, when you're cooking with grass-fed, pasture-raised meat and eggs, the meat, the protein is a much higher quality. It's full of vitamin A, vitamin D, omega-3s. And so that's a great way to boost the anti-inflammatory properties of your food. Now, meat in general is going to be inflammatory, unfortunately, especially when it's cooked. Okay, anytime you cook meat, it becomes even more inflammatory. So that's why it's really important to make sure that you're buying grass-fed beef, pastured chicken, pastured turkey, uncured sugar-free bacon, the best quality that you can possibly find and afford for each protein that you use to make sure that we're keeping our inflammation low. So let's go ahead and start with our flare-free ranch. You can go ahead and pull out your measuring spoons and cups, 100%, please do. We need a quarter cup of, we need a quarter cup, oh, here it is. We need a quarter cup of plain, unsweetened vegan yogurt. I'm using the Kite Hill Greek style plant-based yogurt because that was the only plain that they had when I bought this a couple days ago. This is not my favorite only because it has soy isolate. Soy protein isolate and tapioca starch. So it has thickeners in it, and that's what makes it thick. My absolute favorite plain unsweetened vegan yogurt, soy-free vegan yogurt, is from Cocoa June, and it's thicker than this actually, but it's just coconut milk. That's the only ingredient, and probiotics, obviously. And so that's my favorite, but it's hard to find. I have to get it from Imperfect Foods or Misfit Market or not Trader Joe's, but the Turnip Truck in Nashville. So it's hard to find, and so I have to do the best that I can with what I have. And so I bought the Kite Hill Greek because that was all that they had actually when I needed. And it was the same. This was a few days ago when I bought this, and it was the same today when I went to get plain yogurt. All they had was vanilla. So you find the best yogurt that you can find and afford, and you're going to have to play around to find one that you actually like the taste of. All right, so to that, we're going to add a half a cup of the soy-free Vegan-A's. Now, be careful when you buy this because they do have one that's in a green bottle like this, but it's made from avocado oil. I do not like the flavor of it. It tastes like Miracle Whip or like the Primal Kitchen's mayo, which has like a very tangy flavor, which I'm not keen on. This tastes like Duke's or Helen's mayonnaise, which is the mayonnaise that I grew up eating. I think it's the most neutral flavored mayo, and so this is what I like. If you like to use Primal Kitchen's mayo, you like the flavor of it, 100% please do. If you like the ingredients of Primal Kitchen's mayo, but you don't necessarily like the flavor, I would cut it with yogurt. That's what I normally do for all my clients who prefer that I use the Primal Kitchen's mayo. I can't get the same tasting product for anything that when I use that mayo, so I always cut it half Primal Kitchen's mayo with half plain unsweetened soy-free vegan yogurt. Okay. So we've got a quarter cup of yogurt. We've got a half a cup of mayo. We're going to add garlic and onion powder. You can follow the recipe. It's 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and half a teaspoon of onion powder, or more if you feel like it. I tend to go on the more side of everything. Put the garlic away. I shouldn't have done that. All right, so garlic's going in. And then we're going to add about a tablespoon of dried chives. You can omit this. You can use fresh chives. You can use fresh scallions. You can finely mince up some onion if you want to. I just like to keep this on hand because it's like you can always have chives if you need it. Okay. Now to that, we're going to add some plain unsweetened almond milk just to thin it out until it gets to the consistency of a salad dressing. See, right now it's very thick. Like if you wanted to do ranch dip or like a veggie platter, you could just leave it like that. But we want it to be a salad dressing. We want it to be like something we can drizzle on a salad, right? So go ahead and add a splash of almond milk. You can follow the recipe. I've also have a written recipe that has a measurement. I believe it's 2 to 3 tablespoons. I just give it a splash and then I mix it and then I see, can I drizzle that? Okay, we're going to season with salt and pepper. And then we're going to taste it and see, does it need more garlic powder? Does it need more onion powder? Does it need more mayo? Does it need more chives? You can also add parsley to this. Okay. Mine personally, I guess because I've been eyeballing it, needs more mayo. I put a little bit too much garlic powder. So I'm gonna just thin that out with a little bit of mayo. Because I'm adding more mayo, I will have to thin it out with a little bit of milk. Because I thinned it out with milk, I'm gonna have to add a little bit more salt. So if you're following the recipe to a T with your measuring spoons, you're probably golden. I'll do about 2 to 3 tablespoons of the almond milk just to try it. Okay, let's see if that's better now. Okay, much better now. Go ahead and mix. So go ahead and mix a 1/4 cup of plain unsweetened soy-free vegan yogurt, 1/2 cup of soy-free veganese, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 tablespoon of dried chives, and then drizzle in 2 to 3 tablespoons of plain unsweetened almond milk. Season it with salt and pepper to taste, mix it up, and then taste it and adjust it and get it to where you like it. So good. All right, so that was our timer for our burgers. I can smell them. I can hear them. Our timer went off. Let's get in there and see what's going on with our burgers. Ooh, la la. Yes, okay. Looking good. You see how much they seized up? They were flat and thin before, remember? Look at how much they seized up. And look at how much room is in the skillet now. Let me get the other pan. The other pan needs a couple more seconds. So let's go ahead and smash this down. If we can, we may have missed the mark on that. Whoops. A squirter. We may have missed the mark for smashing it down into a smash burger. But we've got some beautiful color. Let's see if I can smash this one. Oh, no. So let's do this for the next round. Let's check it after 4 minutes and smash it down. Okay. I'm going to consolidate these burgers into one pan so we can get the last 2 in this other pan. Before I put the burgers in, I'm going to drain off this liquid. You can see how much liquid came out of those burgers. If we were just to go in with these burgers with all that liquid in there, they wouldn't get a good color. So because the pan is very hot, it's very well seasoned, I'm not even going to add any oil, okay? Actually, okay, yeah. Just want to make sure. I don't think I seasoned those. So I'm going to put those in and I'm going to season them on both sides. Okay. And then after 4 minutes, we're going to check on them and we're going to smash them down so we can really get a nice little smash burger. But that's okay. A burger's burger, right? Okay. So now, these are probably halfway done. It's a great opportunity to top them with cheese and then cover them with foil and put them back in the broiler, this time on the bottom rack, just to give them a little more time to cook through and melt that cheese. And then they'll be ready to chill. This is such an amazing salad. We had this salad like on a whim once. I think we were in Indianapolis and we were at a little bar, pub thing, restaurant, and they had burger salad on the menu. We were like, oh, that sounds good. Because normally we would just eat burgers without the bun. And so it was a salad that had ranch dressing and pickles and all the works, and we were like hooked ever since. So I've been making it ever since. Obviously, you can do this with, you know, ground turkey or ground chicken as well. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm sorry. That's why I grabbed mine. I'm going to show you guys. I've put a few tablespoons of vegan cheese. This is from BioLife. This is made from coconut oil, food starch, which is potato starch and tapioca starch. Oh, and cornstarch. Sea salt, cheddar flavor, olive extract, paprika, beta carotene, vitamin 12. Vitamin B12. So sprinkle your burgers with a few tablespoons of cheese, 1 to 2 to 3, whatever you like. Okay. And then we're going to spray it lightly with oil, because adding a little bit of oil or moisture, if you have a sauce, for example, to the cheese will really help it melt better. Okay. Cover with oil. And then pop it in the broiler on the bottom rack. And we're just going to cook those through until the cheese melts and the burgers are done. All right. Yay, we're doing it. Oops. Okay. We've got our dressing done. Let's go ahead and chop up an onion and some pickles. Now, I usually do Bubby's pickles, but if you found like an organic pickle that you really like the taste of, you don't care for these, 100% please do. I will say these are rather expensive pickles. They're fermented with just salt, garlic, and dill. So they're very sour. They're very garlicky, but they're full of naturally occurring probiotics from the way that they're fermented, right? So the same as you would get from sauerkraut or kimchi. That's why I love to use these pickles, because they're super healthy for you. But I would say that they are an acquired taste. So this is the brand, Bubby's. You can see the ingredients: cucumbers, water, salt, garlic, dill, spices, mustard. Okay. Very sour, very salty, very garlicky, an acquired taste. So if you don't want to take a chance on these, you know, buy your favorite pickle. I recommend something that's organic or something that has very few identifiable ingredients on the back. So go ahead and strain those off into a paper towel. I like to do 1 per person, so I'm doing 4 because I'm hopefully make 4 salads with this. Maybe I can get 6 or 8. It depends on how much meat we want to have with our burger. We've got 0 seconds. I was going to say 30 seconds, but we're out of time. Let's check on our burger. That's been in there for 4 minutes. Because we want to be able to, hopefully, fingers crossed, mash it down so it can be a nice thin burger. Three or 4 minutes in, smash your burger down and let it continue cooking. So then we're going to set a timer for 4 more minutes, because the first set of burgers took 8 minutes. Okay, and then we're going to slice our pickles. So just holding the knife kind of like on an exaggerated angle towards your non-dominant hand, like so. You can just slice through your pickles. You want to use that rocking motion I taught you inside the knife skills class. We do this with scallions. You can slice it on a bias, going as slow or as fast as you need to. Okay. I'm going to drain these 1 more time, because I do like all of the ingredients to be dry before I put it on the salad, so that we're not making our lettuce soggy. Now, you can go about this one of many ways. You can place your greens in a big family style salad bowl, like we did last week with the salmon and the Greek salad with the salmon, and then put all your toppings on top. plate your burgers on the side. You can plate your burger salad all as one in a container, or you can package all of the components separately and then build your own salad as needed. So you go ahead and decide, do you want to take this to lunch? If so, you're going to want to build it as a complete dish. Do you want to eat this family style at home? If so, you want to package everything in separate containers. Do you want to eat it as a big like family style salad that you can just kind of pull out and then cook a burger and put it on top? You can do it that way. And then let's start packaging because there's nothing else left to do for this except dice an onion. So let's do that and then grab our containers. Okay. So just like we've done a few times before, let's cut the ends off. Lay it down on the cut side. And then remove that first layer of onion and the peel. Okay. Tidy up your board. All right. Now this is a really fun cut. This is called a julienne. What we're going to do is just grab like 3 or 4 layers of the onion, like so. Okay. Now our intuition normally is to cut along the rainbow, right? But that piece is too big to fit in our mouth. It's not graceful. So what we're going to do is actually cut against the rainbow. So go ahead and turn your onion to where the rainbow is kind of facing you, right? And we're going to slice against it, like so. Just even spaces apart, holding your onion with your claw, making sure your fingertips are tucked under your knuckles, and using that rocking motion if you feel comfortable to get a nice julienne. Do that one more time. Just take a few pieces of the onion. With the rainbow facing you, but we're not going to cut along the rainbow because that's not easy to eat. We're going to cut across the rainbow, holding our fingertips, tucking our fingertips under our knuckles as we hold the knife, slicing through with that rocking motion I taught you in the knife skills class, just like so. Okay. That's our timer for our burgers. Let's check on both the one with the cheese and the foil and the one that does not have. Aha! Beautiful smash burgers. They're nice and flat, gorgeous. So these, the ones with the cheese, have been in here for 12 minutes total. Okay. So you can take an instant read thermometer and you can stick it in the middle and see 165 is well done. Okay. But if you want it medium, you can cook it to 145. Okay. I'm going to pull those. They're perfectly cooked for me. I'm going to add some cheese to these. Put some foil, pop these back in the oven for maybe like 1 or 2 minutes because we flatten these out and they're thinner, so they're not going to take as long to cook. So go ahead and take your cheese and pop 2 to 3 tablespoons on each. It's really like a 5-finger pinch is what it is. All hands on deck, all fingers on deck. Just like so. We're going to cover it with some foil. That last piece I had kind of ripped as I was taking it off. I'm going to start with a freshie. Okay. Back into the oven, this time on the bottom rack of the broiler. Let's do 2 minutes. We are doing it, y'all. We've got breakfast done. We've got the sweet and sour chicken with rice done. We've got our salad dressing done. Our burgers are nearly done. All of our veggies are chopped because you should have gotten yourself some cherry tomatoes so we can throw them in whole. I had a whole organic tomato in the fridge that I just diced up before class because We shouldn't have to do anything for the tomatoes. If you buy them whole, it's quick and easy, just put on top. So now let's go ahead and figure out how we want to package and get that done. All right, just take some time to clear your station so we can bring our containers over and package this up. All right, that's our timer on our burgers. I'm gonna pull these after 2 minutes, right? You can stick an instant read thermometer straight through the middle, making sure not to touch the bottom of the pan. Check, is it at 145? That's medium rare. Is it at 155? Medium. 165, well done, right? These are gonna carry over cook. These are gonna carry over cook as they kind of sit here and cool down in the pan. I'm gonna set them aside off of the stove. I don't want them to stay on the stove because it's hot on the stove from the broiler running. So find a spot to put them and let them cool. All right, so I'm gonna put the toppings separate. Maybe I'll just do the onions by themselves because they can be kind of pungent and kind of take over the flavor of everything else. Tomatoes and pickles I'll do side by side in this one. Yum! So good. For me personally, I'm gonna just use no fuss. Keep my greens in the container that they came in, and then put the burgers in here because I'm running out of Tupperware containers. Got our dressing, our burgers in here. What else would be really good on this is bacon. So if you had extra bacon you wanted to toss in there, that would be amazing. Yummy, yummy. This is a tough one. It's like, ooh, should we have burger salad or should we have sweet and sour chicken? That's tough. If you wanted to save the meat juice, so when you reheat your burgers, you have some liquid to reheat them in and reconstitute, please do. If you want to just strain it off, I would let it cool completely and then put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the garbage. Don't put that down your sink, okay? Yay, we're doing it. All right, so I'm going to set this aside and we are going, actually put this in the fridge to cool because it's very hot. And then we are going to work on dessert. We're almost done. Yay! All right, so take a few seconds to tidy up if you need to. Finish packaging your meals. Put your burgers in the fridge to cool down. And then come back to center with your dessert mise en place. All right. This is a recipe that I have been making for my clients, for my catering clients, for quite some time, but I never wrote the recipe or taught any of my clients how to do it until the meal prep solution. So I'm very proud of this recipe and that we come together to get it written down. So go ahead and grab a sheet tray. This is the last thing we're going to cook today, and then we get to turn the oven off. And trust me, guys, this is a goodie. We are going to make flare-free granola. And I make mine grain-free, but if you like grains and you can tolerate them, you can use gluten-free oats and do a grain-filled granola. So go ahead and take a sheet tray, coat it with a piece of parchment paper. This parchment's a little big, so I'm going to just make it fit. And on the sheet tray, we're going to add, let's see if I put measurements here for you guys. Okay, I did. Okay, I measured it for you. 1 cup of gluten-free oats or unsweetened shredded coconut. So this is what I do to keep mine grain-free, is I use the unsweetened shredded coconut. If you have a coconut allergy, you're going to want to use gluten-free oats. So 1 cup of that. Oops, a little bit more than a cup, but that's okay. This is a very versatile, flexible recipe. I don't measure it when I make it for my clients. So to that, we're going to add either a 1/2 cup of pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. You can also use sunflower seeds, or sliced almonds. Okay. So we've got a cup of shredded unsweetened coconut or gluten-free oats, and 1/2 cup of sliced almonds or pepitas or sunflower seeds, right? If you can't have nuts, you can do seeds. If you can't have seeds as well, you just omit that part and do extra oats or extra coconut. If you can't have oats or coconut or nuts, you can't have this recipe. All right, to that, we're going to add, this is optional, by the way. This part's optional, but I always add it just for extra protein and fiber and minerals. Hemp hearts, so shelled hemp hearts or hemp seeds, and then chia seeds. So both of these are packed with protein, fiber, minerals, vitamins, you name it, they have it. They're like superfoods. I love to put chia seeds, hemp seeds, and ground flax seeds in all of my meals, as much of my meals as I can. We even keep a mixture of equal parts of each of them in a jar that we sprinkle on everything. You'll see it in my Instagram posts and stuff. I put on my breakfast eggs, soups, stir fries, you name it, we do it. So you can just literally turn the back of the package around and see it's got vitamin D, calcium, iron, potassium, thiamine, riboflavin, B6, folate, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese. These are amazing, amazing sources of vitamins, minerals, protein, and fiber. So definitely want to try to incorporate them as best as you can. Okay, now go ahead and just spread this out into an even layer on your sheet tray. Ta-da! We're going to season this beautiful goodness with some cinnamon. You can also use pumpkin spice, right? About a 1/2 teaspoon or as much as you'd like. You can always add more later because we're going to taste it. And then about, we're going to put 3 to 4 tablespoons, 3 to 4 tablespoons of raw honey. You can also No, you can't. I was gonna say you can also use stevia, but we really want the honey. You can just use dark maple syrup if you want to help stick all of the flavors together and bring this into a granola. So I just did a drizzle all over, just like that, a nice even drizzle all over of honey. Now, the last thing I'm going to add is a little pinch of salt. Salt is always good when you're baking because it helps bring out the flavor of your food and what's the word I'm looking for? Not emphasize, yeah, or increase the sweetness that you're adding from the honey or the maple syrup or the monk fruit. So after you've got your oats or your shredded coconut, your nuts or your seeds, your chia seeds and hemp seeds if you're using them, your cinnamon and your honey and your salt on the sheet tray in one even layer, we're going to carefully, gently spray it well with oil, okay? You don't want to spray too close because you're going to blow it all over the place and ruin your beautiful mixture, right? So it should be nice and flat and even and covering the sheet tray. Coat it with some spray oil. We're going to pop this on the bottom rack of the broiler and we're going to cook it for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to watch it and see. Maybe it'll take 4. We don't know. We're going to check it after let's check it after 1.5 minutes and we'll mix it and then we'll cook it until it's done, okay? So while that's cooking, let's go ahead and get some yogurt in some mason jars. Now you can skip this part altogether if you want. You can keep all the components separate and build a little yogurt parfait in a bowl. But if you're like me and you like to have something ready to go, you can make it in advance. Now, I will say that the granola tastes best if you add it a la minute, right? But you can add, because it'll retain its crunch better. If you package it in advance, it's going to lose some crunch from being in this moist environment. So I like to just package, I like to let the granola cool completely, package it separately, and then, okay, this is sweetened. I usually like to get the unsweet because it doesn't have sugar. Wow, this has 12 grams of sugar per serving. Okay, that's 1 minute. Let's give it 30 more seconds and then we'll check on it and we'll mix it up and we'll keep cooking it until it's done. I usually like to buy the unsweetened vanilla yogurt. They didn't have any, so they substituted for this, which has sugar, 12 grams of sugar per serving. Sugar is one of the top, well, it is the top inflammation promoting foods. And I feel it very easily when I eat sugar. I feel it in my joints. So I try to avoid it as best as I can. Sometimes you just can't though. They didn't have another option for me today. Checking these raspberries for mold. Raspberries are very prone to mold. So go ahead and pop some of your yogurt into a mason jar. We're going to top it with blueberries and then we'll top it with raspberries. The raspberries are very delicate, much more delicate than the blueberries. Let's get our granola out of the oven. Aha. Okay. You can see right here, we've got some beautiful gold color going on. Not so much on this side. So you can see our oven is not cooking evenly. So let's give our granola a toss, right? Spread it all the way back out. Smells so good. And we want to get it that beautiful golden color all the way around. So let's let it keep going. Mix it up, spread it out. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Oh, this tastes good even with just some coconut milk as if it was like cereal. Trust me, guys, this stuff is addicting. You're gonna love this. Okay. So, nicely spread out to an even layer. Pop it back in for another 1.5 minutes. as I was saying, the raspberries are way more delicate than the blueberries, so we're going to put them on top of the blueberries. Okay. Checking for moldy ones along the way. Toss those out. Okay. Just like that. And then you pull that out of the fridge and you top it with your granola. And oh my gosh, if you need to, if you have the unsweetened vanilla and you want to put honey or maple syrup with a drizzle, it's my favorite dessert. I love to recommend that we eat things that would traditionally be thought of as like breakfast for dessert, because eating this as breakfast is going to spike our blood sugar, right? You don't want to eat sweets on an empty stomach. Blood sugar spikes cause inflammation. So this is not a breakfast, guys. This is dessert. So your honey toast, your cereal, right? If you wanted to get like a good quality, sugar-free, gluten-free cereal, your waffles, your pancakes, your overnight oats, your chia pudding, things like that. Let's think of them as dessert from now, okay? All right, that was 1 minute and we're getting somewhere. You see how beautiful golden, oh my gosh, it looks stunning. But we're still not getting cooked all around evenly. So let's give it one more toss. And I think 30 more seconds. So it's been in there for 2 minutes and 30 seconds so far. Let's do 30 more seconds and see how it looks. Because as this cools on the tray, it'll crisp up a little bit more as well. Okay. We really just want like a nice toasted. So if you're not using the coconut and you're only using oats, be mindful of that, looking at it and see, do I need to pull this already? Are they cooking faster than this coconut? Because the coconut has fat, so it's going to cook a little bit slower than the oats. All right, guys, we're nearly done. We've got breakfast, lunch, 2 dinners, and dessert already ready to go. You guys did so amazing today. I'm so proud of you for showing up, for doing the work, for staying consistent, and for asking me and allowing me to be a part of your healing journey. It is the pleasure of my life. Let's go ahead and check on that soy-free granola. All right, there we go. See that? Beautiful golden, light golden, heavenly, beautiful color all around. Smells amazing. But there's only one way to know if it's good, and that's taste it. So let's go ahead and get a little tasting spoon and see. Does it need more cinnamon? Does it need more salt? Does it need more honey? Right? Let's fix it. Let's zhuzh it up. Very hot. Be careful. Mm. Mm. Oh my God. It's so good. It's salty. It's sweet. It's cinnamony. I don't think it needs anything for me personally. I'm just going to spread it back out and let it continue to cool, or let it cool. And as it cools, it's going to continue to cook up and toast up ever so slightly more. And when it is fully cool, you can pop it into a container. I prefer to keep them separate, right? It takes nothing when you have a sweet tooth to pull this out and put some granola on top, or take it to work with you if you want. Okay. We set this aside to cool. And I'm going to leave the rest in all the separate components so we can build more parfaits as the week goes on. Because I will tell you, the longer that these parfaits sit in the fridge, the more moisture can collect in there. Okay, we want our yogurt to stay thick and we want our berries to stay fresh. So go ahead and put the rest in a container or a mason jar or what have you. And then you can make some more throughout the week. Or just pop it in a bowl. It doesn't have to be in a mason jar. You can just pop it in a bowl. One of my absolute favorite desserts. Okay. And then we will just come back to center with anything else you need to package and get that all packaged up together. And you can be on your way. Yay! All right. Oh, let's turn the broiler off. We're done cooking. All right, go ahead and tidy up your station, just putting anything away that you can get out of your way. And then let us package anything else that you see packaged up. Oh, and one last thing. Let's pour our frozen vegetables into our crock pot and add some milk. So let's see, how much should I write in the recipe? 2 to 3 cups. So let's start with maybe 2 cups and see what it needs. All right, let me bring this over for you guys to show you what it looks like. See if I can get some tongs in there. Let's see what's going on with the chicken. Okay, see? Chicken is falling apart when I grab it, okay? So you can literally just get in there and break up the chicken with your tongs. You can pull it out, let it cool a little bit, and then shred it with 2 forks. You can chop it with a knife, whatever you want to do. I usually just get in there with tongs. So we can always just break it up as we portion it out and serve it up, right? Beautiful. Okay, let's check on the rice. Oh, wow, the rice is done already. Interesting. Okay. Well, I think we can pull this off the heat then. Because you can see I'm just shredding the chicken. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. I think we can pull it off the heat because I might get a couple forks in there. Just to shred it up to see what the consistency is, right? So I've got big chunks of chicken. I'm just going to shred it with a couple forks because I want to see, like, do I need to add more milk or is this plenty? And then what I usually like to do, which I don't know if I wrote this in the recipe, I usually like to, so I'm just grabbing the chicken up here and kind of using the side. It's just falling apart on its own to kind of shred it, okay? But I love to add a big chunk of vegan butter to thicken up because that's my only problem with crock pot soups is that they really don't, because you're cooking it with a lid on the whole time, they don't like thicken up like a regular soup would. And so they can be kind of what's the word? It's a very lean soup when you cook in the crock pot, right? It's a lot of moisture, it's a lot of liquid, it's not a lot of like viscosity. So we're going to add a big pat of butter and that'll help thicken it up and make it extra creamy and delicious. And then we'll taste it for salt. Oh my gosh. This looks so good. My mouth is watering over everything. Apparently I'm very hungry. So again, I'm just picking up these pieces of chicken, kind of using the side of the crock pot to shred them if needed. Okay, it's all just shredding very easily. Okay. You can also use bone-in chicken for this if you want to add extra fattiness, extra flavor. This is just the easiest way to do it. We don't have to deal with any bones. So I just like to do it this way for ease. So let me show you what it looks like. Yes. And you can check your carrots for doneness. Are the carrots done? A little bit firm. Carrots are a little toothy still. That's okay. It has time. And here's the thing, guys. The rice is done though, which is shocking because I feel like it takes a little longer. But here's the thing, guys. By the time it's cold, and then you go to reheat it, those carrots are gonna go. So check it out. This is what our soup looks like now. It looks like a soup. See? Totally looks like a soup now. Right? Okay. Now keeping in mind that I did have the recipe. So let me show you. I can just show you how beautiful, right? Oh, look at that. Stunning. Okay. Gorgeous. So let me get some butter because I know it needs it. Okay, I'm going to add this. This is 2 tablespoons I had from earlier. I'm going to start with that tea. And I'm guessing that salt and pepper. 2 tablespoons might be enough for this. Kind of a small amount of soup. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So if you want to package this up into mason jars, I recommend getting a canning funnel and doing it like in a wide mouth jar. I'm just going to let that butter melt so I can taste it, because the butter is going to add salt, right? My guess is this, did we even put salt and pepper? I don't remember. Oh yeah, we did. My guess is it's going to need salt and pepper, especially because there's no salt in the almond milk, right? Okay. Let's taste the broth. Oh my gosh, that's yummy. Okay. Let's taste a little bit of everything. Let's see, is the chicken seasoned or is that all coming from the broth? Oh my, wow. Okay. Oh no, I feel like it doesn't need anything. That's super weird. Normally I feel like it needs a lot of salt and pepper. I don't think it needs anything. So I'm gonna leave it like it is. Still have a tiny bit of butter that's melting, but let me show you guys what this looks like. Stunning. This is so good, and it came together in absolutely no freaking time. And we did very little to make it happen, right? Baby carrots, frozen peas, a whole 2 chicken breasts that we just threw in there whole. Like what? Oh my gosh. I have a feeling my mom's coming to town to visit. So we're gonna have lots of delicious meals that we can put on the table very easily to share for the whole family because of our hard work today. Look at how gorgeous and beautiful that is. Come on. Oh, stunning. Go ahead and taste your soup. Fix it if it needs more salt. Fix it if it needs more pepper. If it needs more body, fattiness, and mouthfeel, add more butter. Just keep tasting and adjusting. I love it where it is right now, so I'm going to stop. This Pyrex bowl with a lid will be perfect. Oh, yes. Now, I also added celery to mine because I had like 2 pieces of celery in the fridge that I just wanted to use. Completely optional. Trying to get rid of everything in the fridge before my mom comes to visit. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Package this up with anything else that needs to be packaged. Then you're done. Rice stuck on the bottom. Not stuck, but I can't get it out. Get it with a spoon. Beautiful. So we've got protein from the chicken and peas. We've got fiber, well, and a little bit of protein from the rice. We've got carotenoids from the carrots. Obviously, onions, super healing for you as well. It's a full package deal, guys. Creamy chicken and rice soup from the crock pot. Beautiful. One more taste just for good luck. Wow. Okay. Everything is tasting amazing tonight. I hope it is for you as well. I really thank you for joining me for another cook along inside the meal prep solution. I hope your family enjoys these meals this week. That it makes your life a little easier. You should be very proud of yourself for all of the work you put in today. We made a lot of amazing food in a very small amount of time. All right, and then the last thing we really have is bacon and potatoes for breakfast. All right. Just gonna put these in a casserole dish and we can pull out what we need. Yay! Gorgeous. Oh. All right, that's it, my friends. Thank you for joining me for week 2. I look forward to seeing you next week for week 3. Bye.